So this is the Algolaser Pixi. And honestly, it's one of the biggest surprises I've had while reviewing products on this channel for months. But is it any good? Let's find out. Its physical size is 265 by 214 by 195 millimeters. So in other words, it's tiny, or I guess Pixi. Open it up, and inside here is a 100 by 100 engraving space, or 10 centimeters squared. It's got a max working speed of 6,000 millimeters per minute, at least on the version I tested, and it uses a 450 nanometer blue diode laser. That laser is available in 3 watt, 5 watt, or 10 watt varieties, and I'm using the 10 watt variety in this review. And yes, this is a review, which means this product was sent to me free of charge, but no money changed hands, and hopefully if you've watched this channel for long enough, you know that I'm capable of chucking out an opinion on these products, whether they're good or they're bad. It's got Wi-Fi, a neat touch screen, but best of all, it's got the ability to operate completely independently without any sort of PC at all. As you can see, it's got a fully enclosed design with a couple of viewing windows, one in the side and one in the top. Around the back, you've got a USB-C port for hooking up to a Mac or PC and a USB adapter for when you need one, as well as a little extraction port that you can see here, with a tiny fan that I'll come to in a minute. So in short, it's got a tiny little form factor and a price that goes with it. I'm going to come to that in just a second. And it's aimed at absolute beginners, people who have a very small space or budget, or like I'm going to use it for, a very portable machine to take to craft fairs and show off to users the stuff that you're going to use. I'm not actually going to be laser cutting in a public environment. I don't think that's very safe, but it gives a good demonstration of what a laser looks like, and it allows me to talk to people, and it's a nice little conversation starter. Now, I've used lots of lasers at this point, and many of them have been much more expensive than this little Pixi, but let's not beat around the bush. There are some serious limitations with a laser like this. But I just want to caveat that by saying this is clearly aimed at the lower end of the market, at beginners, at people who are buying their first lasers, maybe as to test the water, and it's not aimed at the premium, high-end laser producers. Completely different market. It's an almost out-of-the-box experience. In fact, when it first arrived at my house, I wasn't even sure that I had received a laser. This box was tiny. It was, however, solidly packed with all the accessories and bits and pieces, and the laser arrived basically ready to go out the box. You just need to connect the hoses, plug it in, connect it to your Wi-Fi, and you're almost there. To connect the Wi-Fi, you use the touch screen on top, which is great. Honestly, it's better than some of the screens I've used on 3D printers. And within that touch screen, you have all the functionality you need to print and test and run off your first few models. You can tap around with your finger, the interface is bright and clean, and it's got a cool function where you can draw directly onto the screen. We're going to come to that too. And there's also an app, which is frankly what you'd expect. Simple, clear, easy enough to use with all the basic functions you need to be able to run your laser through your phone. Personally, I don't really use the app. I may just be a bit of a dinosaur at this point, but I'm kind of just sick of having to download a new app for every single piece of technology that I own. I don't want it. I just want the whole thing to just work and not have to look at my phone. Thank you very much. But maybe that's a me problem. Within the app and on the printer itself, there's a library of files you can get started with. Lots of them are fun, but as ever with something that's preloaded onto a machine, you either like it or you don't. There's no choice here. That's not to say though that you can't just go onto any other file site, download yourself an SVG or a PNG file, convert it in Lightburn, and then use the USB stick to engrave your own designs. You absolutely can. So what can the Pixi actually do, and where does it bump into limits? Well, first off, it's really easy to use for the first time. If you've used a laser before, I reckon you can be up and cutting with this machine, as I was, in under 10 minutes. Out of the box, connect to the Wi-Fi, load a file, focus the laser, done. If you haven't used a laser before though, a couple of videos and reading the instructions will have you cutting in under an hour. Given that this is aimed at beginners, a large part of the fun of using lasers for the very first time is just watching them create stuff in the first place, and having a little library of stuff you can just cut. It honestly doesn't matter what you cut. Lasers are really cool. So you can load up a picture of a snowman and then engrave it onto basically anything you like, and then all of a sudden you're looking at this thing about 5 minutes later that you made. It's a really fun process, and the Algolaser Pixi enables that really well. The touchscreen works, the software works, it's easy enough to dial in, and so you can get creating right away. And that spurs this whole circle of creativity that allows you to just really dive in, and frankly that's what this hobby is all about. And Because the functionality of this machine is essentially like any other laser with a couple of stepper motors and some belts to drive the thing, it's really accurate. You can do anything from engraving portraits through to carving out your own name, through to cutting Christmas baubles, whatever you like. And I hope this comes across already, but the best thing about this laser is it's just really fun. The most fun feature is the one I alluded to before, which is the ability to write and draw your own images directly onto the touchscreen and just engrave them. Now, if lasers were safe to use in public spaces, I would absolutely set this up on a craft stall and have people drawing a silly picture and then engraving it onto a coaster and then selling those for a couple of quid. As it is, my next craft store will be indoors and there's lots of public around, and lasers aren't generally safe to use without specialist protection, like particularly eyewear, so I won't be doing that. But there's lots of potential, and I've absolutely sat in the garage with my kids, got them to do the little drawings, and then done exactly that. Why not? It's lots of fun as long as you take the right safety precautions. The best thing about this laser is just how easy it is to engage with as a beginner. But obviously it's a smaller, cheaper laser aimed at beginners at the lower end of the market, so it comes with some limitations. And the most obvious of those is its size. At a 100 by 100 millimeter cutting surface, you really can't do a lot with it. You're talking about one-off designs, bespoke designs carved onto coasters, but only one at a time. My other lasers, I'm carving 10, 20 items at a time, batch producing stuff, and generally being lots more productive. This is not that machine. Another major drawback I ran into talking about the physical size of the thing is it's actually quite difficult getting it lined up, because, let me show you, this little viewing window here doesn't line up with the cutting deck below it, so you end up sort of trying to look around corners and look past the gantries underneath, and you can't quite see all the measurements that are laid out on that grid below, and as a result it can be quite tricky. Similarly, when it comes to dialing in the laser, there's a little dial on top of the laser module itself, and you have to turn that to make it up and go up and down. And I've got quite big hands, so you have to sort of reach underneath, and it's a bit fiddly. Hey, first world problems, but the physical limitations of the unit are such that it does impact the user experience too. Just something to bear in mind. You'll also run into barriers when you're cutting specialist or thicker materials. Very thick materials such as wood over 6mm, the laser will struggle with. Similarly, acrylics and things like that. A 10-watt laser is really aimed at engraving rather than cutting, although it will cut 3mm materials very nicely indeed. Just don't expect too much of a 10-watt laser. The other major issue with a laser cutter like this is obviously they're aimed at beginners. They're kid-friendly colours, the marketing's all pretty, and they're designed to be easy to use. They are easy to use, but they sort of skirt over the fact that lasers have some serious safety requirements. Obviously, you're setting fire to things inside this, so there's obviously a fire risk. There's no real safety features or fire protection features like you see on higher end lasers on this, so the only way you should ever use this laser is if you're watching it all the time. If you are watching it all the time, you obviously need safety glasses on. I know they come with protective covers, but I wouldn't trust that with my own eyes. I've only got one pair of eyes. They don't come with any safety glasses in the box, and you should definitely buy some. The other thing that you don't necessarily realise when you buy your first laser is laser cutting stinks. It absolutely stinks. Essentially what you're doing is setting fire to the material inside that to burn a pattern into the top of it. When you do that, it makes smoke. That smoke needs to go somewhere, and although it does have an extractor on the back of the thing and a little extractor hose, that extractor hose is about 1 metre long, and so you either need to have it outside or next to a window, and even when you do have it next to a window, it's essentially a little computer fan in there. It's not very powerful. When I run this thing, I have it set up next to my much, much larger 8-inch centrifugal extractor, and it's just extracting out of that. And I have it set up in my workshop, and even though it's set up in my workshop, I can still smell the laser cutting smoke because it gradually creeps under the doors and all this sort of stuff. It is absolutely not to be used in your bedroom, for example. Just a word of caution. Now, I have waffled on for long enough without talking about the price of this thing, and as I say, the price is also its biggest selling point. So, How much is it? Well, £212. Which is mad. Just to put that in context, my Creality Falca 2 is £1,200. Now don't get me wrong, you get a lot more laser for the money, but still it's £1,000 more expensive than the Pixi. Now that £212 is for the 3-watt version of this, and if you go full send, which I actually think you should, you can get the 10-watt version for £295. And yes, 300 quid is 300 quid, but I think that's still phenomenal value for everything you get with that, bearing in mind the usability and the functions and the software and the touchscreens and all the rest of it. Frankly, I'm baffled by how far this sort of tech has come. Even the few years that I've been using it, it's really, really fun. So yeah, £300 for the top spec, £212 for the lower spec. So I guess if you're still watching at this point, the question you're asking is, should I buy it? And the honest answer is, I guess it depends. I really surprised myself by loving this, but at the end of the day, I was sent this for free. Would I buy this with my own money? Probably not, but I am not a beginner laser user anymore. I could absolutely see a use case for this if I was a pop-up crafter and did regular crafting workshops and regular sort of craft stalls as a marketing tool. This is a really fun thing. At 200 quid, the whole thing's tax deductible and you can just have it on site and show people what you want. That's the only sort of professional use case that I can think of at the moment, but if you can think of a different one, let me know in the comments. That's fun. As a beginner though, would I spend 200 quid on the 3-watt version? Maybe. That's about the money I spent on my first 3D printer. It's certainly within my budget, and as a fun thing to buy for the kids, as a hobby project we can all do together. Yeah, I actually really liked it. So should you buy the laser? I think if you're a beginner or you're looking to dive into laser cutting for the very first time, yes you should. It's an absolutely wicked little thing. It's not very expensive, relatively, and if you're just taking your first jumps, it's a really fun way to do it. I will be using it to take around to craft stalls, so potentially if you're regularly attending craft fairs or maker fairs, then this is a really cool portable little unit you can take around as a little demonstrator that you can show to customers. Maybe not have it running on the stall, but you can absolutely show them the fundamentals of how you can laser cut stuff and what it is and just get people interested. It's a great little conversation starter. You shouldn't buy it if you're an experienced laser user who wants to make large stuff, cut specialist materials, or do anything other than make little trinkets to sit on your desk or give to friends. It's not good enough for that. You'll be hugely disappointed, and my guess is you'll use it a couple of times, realise it's not for you, and then it'll sit in the cupboard, or you'll sell it on eBay in a couple of years' time. So buy it if you want a fun little toy to play with your family to get them into laser cutting and hobby and crafting, or you want a little conversation starter to take to your maker fairs. Don't buy it if you want to cut big, thick, multiple batch items. It'll take ages and you won't get the best use out of it. Or if you know you want to get into laser cutting and do more and more of it, you should probably just take the plunge now and buy a more advanced, larger piece of hardware. I've got lots of reviews on the channel about lasers, and I seriously recommend the Creality Falcon 2. There are links in the description if you want to purchase the machine. And I'll finish up this video, like I always do, by saying this video is made possible by the people who support me over on Patreon by clicking on affiliate links, or by just generally offering moral support over on my Discord, all of which is linked below. Thank you if you're a patron already. You are absolute legends and you know who you are. I'm James. This has been RisingApe Minis, and I'll see you next time.